You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Hodlam.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 312. Here we are, the 21st of June, 2023, and of course, the first day of official summer. Although, weather-wise, man, for the last few days, it's summer here anyways. But welcome, everyone, to the show. And you can see we've got a new co-host with Casey that has joined us. That is Moto. And she is not waving very well to the camera today. For some
she doesn't like introductions. No,
okay, doesn't like it. Oh, staring at us now. Uh-oh, now we're talking about her. Uh-oh. But that's Casey Green joining us from the Carolinas. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. It was started out as a cool day, and it didn't rain today, which was nice because it's been raining all week. And ready to rock and roll.
Very good, very good. Also joining us, Mr. Patrick Connor from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I'm good. Happy Equinox, I guess, as Mark just pointed out. Happy snuck up on me. This is the time to get the solar panels back on the house, which we don't have yet. Yes, so...
Patrick, you should have brought a picture of those nice solar panels sitting on pallets in your driveway, just wasting their time sitting there.
That's exactly what they're doing. Yes, Tesla requires 30 days for the roof to cure before they will reinstall them.
So Tesla and the other company.
The other company only required 2 weeks. And I didn't know Tesla had any requirement like that. It makes sense. They don't want to put it back on the roof and then have something go wrong and they get blamed for it when it really was a bad roof install. I don't have a bad roof install. Just do it now. But that's not how the game is played. Yeah, those long summer days are coming, and we have. So the Tesla system was a little bureaucratic. The person I worked with to get them removed wouldn't return my emails, so I sat on hold. I finally got a hold of somebody. They said that they would put in the system that I want a reinstall, so they did that. But then they said it would take 3 to 5 days before I could go in the app and schedule it. Well, I haven't checked it today, but I checked it yesterday, and I still couldn't schedule the reinstall. Even if I have to wait 30 days, that's fine. I want to get it on the books so that on day 31 they're here, right? I don't want to wait. Yeah. Which is what I did with the other system. The guy's coming July 5th to reinstall them. And so that worked out great. I mean, he wanted to wait. And so I said, okay, sure, let's just schedule it right after your waiting period. And with the fourth holiday there, the 5th was the perfect time. So that worked great. And I would like to do the same thing with Tesla because, as we just said, summer's here. This is the time to really make those kilowatt hours.
Day of the year.
That's right.
I'm missing it. I usually do my annual production. I do my production on that day and compare it year over year, just because it's a fun day to have solar. And this year, well, it's going to be my worst solar day ever. 0.
Projection is going to be a little bit down today in the year chart for sure.
And then one other thing, having Powewalls is great. Having Powewalls with no solar is not as much fun.
It still means you're not sitting in the dark should something go wrong.
Right. Yes, I have that. And when we get into July, that's a possibility. When everyone kicks on the air conditioner, that's a lot of stress on the grid, and sometimes we lose power. Yeah.
Very good. I'd like to say hello to Fred, Hockey Day, and Coffee with Ken, who are quick to be added to the private chat, not the private chat, the stream chat. So hello to everybody there. And if you're out there already, send us a hello and where you're from if you want to join the chat. Love to see you. With that said, let's get on to some Tesla news. No shortage of that. Not a big surprise. Casey's got our first story, and it's more about NACS.
Yes. Man continues to obsess over plugs. So, since we last spoke about the NACS, we had Hyundai and Mercedes and Stellantis all say they are considering switching to NACS. Mercedes and Hyundai have a problem in that they are high voltage, which is to say that they are higher voltage than the deployed supercharger network of 400 volts ish. And so because of that, they want to see how it's going to work out. My opinion is that as soon as the V4s roll out, or if they do upgrades of V3s to the 1000 volt system, then they have nothing to worry about, except that if they didn't quite do it right, which is a whole other issue. And then after that, we got a surprise announcement from Rivian. Rivian is not considering. Rivian has committed. So 2024
Nice.
adapters go out. 2025 supercharger access with native ports. And I'm wondering now at this point, everybody is doing 2024, 2025. I know it's only a year and a half. But is that when Tesla's going to have the production of ports ready, or what's going on then? Is it going to be an upgrade to the supercharger network? One likes to ponder these sorts of things.
Yeah, that gives Tesla 2024 to roll out new stations to support all the cars that'll be coming from these other manufacturers.
With adapters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Magic Dock stations and the like.
And then after they come out with the adapters, they come out with the native ports. And they get to I guess it's more of a phased roll-in, probably.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just bombarded.
There's going to be a lot of prep work required. Now, let's keep in mind that 65% of the vehicles sold in North America are Tesla already. So that's really that they're planning for 35%, as it is today, of extra EVs coming. And of course, not everybody's going to be on board, but probably a good chunk of them. So let's say half of them get on board with it and half don't. Yeah. So, you're still at that point, you're looking at about 17% of vehicles will be joining the Teslas that are already on the network. So, yeah, there's going to have to be some planning. I don't think Tesla's going to be able to be as direct as they are now with supercharger placement, because of course they're not really going to be getting the data from Ford and Chevy and others about where these vehicles actually have been purchased.
Ford, GM, and Rivian have committed to API access. So maybe that's a two-way street, and they're not just reading from the system. They might be writing back to it, hey, I'm over here and this is where I'm going. Make sure there's a spot ready, because I've noticed, like, even on my car lately, I'll say, hey, I want to go this way. And they'll say, hey, we fixed another supercharger because that one's going to be a little bit of a wait. Or when I'm towing, hey, this one has nobody around and you can block as many as you want. Or this one has a nose-in spot. I don't know if that last one
I agree with trip planning, but also there's another thing is that Ford specifically, probably Chevy too. I haven't heard it specifically for Chevy, but Ford wants the people using their app, their navigation
app will interface with the Tesla system, and then they never leave the Ford app or the Ford dashboard.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the Ford backend isn't saying, hey, Tesla, we've got 10 headed your way to Fort Gables, Florida. Be ready.
Right.
We have a story coming up later. I don't want to, spoil that one, but Tesla still monitors their entire network, even if they don't get that information directly from the other OEMs that are using their connector or their network. They're going to know, okay, we see the load increase here, and it's been sustained for, we need to expand in that region. And they don't need real-time data to do that. They can do that analysis over a number of weeks.
Right. Yeah, like if all of a sudden, the Silverado goes on sale and like all over Texas, like the load increases by an extra factory. And this will be like them turning on another factory right here, except that instead of it just producing one or two cars, it's going to produce about 20 cars, 20 different models that they're going to have to contend with.
Yeah,
that's a funny way to think about it.
I mean, in terms of sheer volume, you've got 4 active Tesla car factories, and they'll be like adding a 5th as far as the raw numbers are
Except there'll be no ramp up. It'll be an instant demand. Yeah, that's going to be the thing. But
they'll have ramp today for the adapters, and that'll be the last time they have any control over this. Because then once the ports come on, it'll be the people with the adapters and then the people with the brand new cars. Just boom.
Yeah. Now, another interesting thing with this article as well is that ChargePoint, which is a fairly large third-party producer, they've indicated that they're switching over, and they've also indicated that they want to be ahead of the curve. They don't want to be the 24, 25. They want to start deploying immediately because they've got a whole bunch of level 2s and level 3 DC fast chargers out there that they're going to want to get that NACS connector on. And the ironic thing is that wasn't ChargePoint the one that came out with NACS connectors before Tesla put them on the market as a free pickup for anybody that wanted it. So they actually got their hands slapped by Tesla for putting NACS connectors on some Bay Area chargers and had to back up. So now that it is official and it's unlicensed or it's licensed for everybody, they're back in the game.
Yep, and then EVgo has committed to expand what they were doing. They were chaining a CHAdeMO adapter to their stations, but it sounds like they're going native NACS as well. Now that they've got their charging partners are going to be supporting this.
Well, this is just a remarkable turnaround. Like it's now a tsunami of support behind this. And I can see that CCS is going to die. Like it's
Absolutely.
Just there's no question about it. It is
CCS one.
Right. So
in North America.
In North America.
Well, not just North America. Everywhere CCS1 exists. If Hyundai jumps on, then there's no point in having CCS1 exist in Korea or Taiwan.
Interesting.
Or Central America.
Well, the only problem is that the providers over there are going to have to switch as well.
Are they not going to support Hyundai in Korea? That would be stupid.
Yeah. That would be questionable. But
well, when Hyundai says they're evaluating it, this might be part of that evaluation. Are they only going to do this for the North American market, or are they also going to do it in other markets?
That would be dangerous on Hyundai's part to only do it in North America, because now you've got an orphan standard, because Central America is going to switch, because Canada and Mexico have already switched, so why not Central America? And so then now you've got Taiwan and South Korea. Like, do you really want to have to pay the prices for somebody to do the new lower volume? You don't.
Right. Yeah. So you're right. It makes sense. But those are that's an interesting thought there. Yeah. How is that going to play out? The part about this whole thing that I've found fun is there are some people out there who are pro EV but anti Tesla.
Yes.
They've had to eat some crow around this because Tesla. It's arguably. I mean, I should say inarguably the best charging experience, and it's not just about the charge time and the handle and the plug and play. It's the whole experience, and we all know that. But for some folks, it's been really I have to admit that Tesla was the best, and I really don't want to.
Yeah, and for those folks who might say, well, actually, I'm not forgetting Japan. It's just that Japan prefers CHAdeMO, and they are also working on CHAdeMO's replacement with China. So we'll see how that plays out. But technically, if South Korea goes, then Japan will probably also go NACS. But will they use the NACS, or will they use the new thing? But we'll see on that one.
And of course, Patrick brings up a good point. It is the whole thing. Because when we look at these third-party charging companies getting involved, success is not definitely routed for them, because they have issues in uptime, in maintenance, in operations. And those things don't go away with the new NACS connector. Those things are still present.
The failures due to the broken pins go away, but that's it.
Right. Yeah, there's a whole experience you have to consider, and that Tesla has, and just changing the connector type doesn't mean that you're going to solve all those problems. The whole how do you sign in? How do you initiate it? Do you have to scan something, tap something, do whatever? Those are such a pain. And I'm glad there is a standard now for plug and charge that's not proprietary, and so that can be implemented for everybody, because you need something like that. You need to make it easy.
Yeah,
pull in and plug in.
Exactly. And there's two reasons why the automakers are waiting, aside from whatever we might see, while the providers are jumping on now. The first is, like you said, they've got over 60% of the market already out there on NACS, so they can now address, now they can access the plug readily. And then, as ChargePoint said, they want to be ready before the cars get there. So before the other cars arrive, they need to have a solution in place. And then, like I said, with the automakers, is all up to speculation why they're all waiting for one specific date.
Yeah, I've only been thinking about this in the context of CCS, but with ChargePoint coming on board, you bring up a good point that this is J1772 as well.
Yeah.
So it's equally as dead.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, so ChargePoint, for all of their DC chargers, they will have an upgrade kit. So if you want to change one or two handles over to NACS, you can. They didn't specify clearly if that includes the upgrade kits for the home chargers, but the commercial chargers, you'll be able to order them with NACS on them, but we don't know if level 2 will have upgrade kits, or if you just have to order a new one for the level 2. But the DC chargers are going to have, you can swap the whole cable assembly for the NACS.
It would not be easy to upgrade. You'd really you can't just swap the handle in. You'd have to change the whole cable.
It's not just a plug and re-plug in.
Exactly.
Yeah, like at the unit, you'll unplug all the cables, and then you'll plug in all the cables again, but they'll have a NACS port at the end instead of a CCS port.
Right. Yeah.
And then the right holster.
Yeah, that requires
an electrician.
For most people, it's going to mean they have to hire an electrician.
That's going to be a service call for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's probably as much or more expensive as the charging units. You might as well just buy a new wall connector.
Right. And are the retrofits, if they offer them, the retrofits on level 2 going to be readily available, or would it be faster for you to just order a new unit and just replace what's already there? Plus that resets. So like yesterday or day before yesterday, we went to a mall and we charged on a ChargePoint, and one of the units, the one we used, the screen was just completely UV frosted out, like it's been in the sun for over 10 years now. And then the 3 next to it, you can still read them, but I know I've been charging at ChargePoint forever. I knew what was going on. I pulled up my phone, scanned it, waited for the click, unplugged it, popped it in. We were good to go. But
somebody who's would not have known that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a good
opportunity. If it still worked.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity for all of these charging providers to rethink their whole system. And do they need interfaces on them at all? Or, And just to replace old broken hardware, outdated stuff.
It's also a good opportunity for ChargePoint to make sure that all their new sales include a service plan of some sort. Either, hey, this is just included, or, hey, we'll come out for a fee. And because right now it gets to the point where, hey, I'm at Starbucks on 11th Street, and the ChargePoint's not working. They're like, oh, well, we'll call Starbucks corporate and see if they want to either fix it or fix it themselves. Versus, oh, hey, it's broken. We'll send somebody out next week.
Right. Yeah.
That's money. That comes down to the operator, the property owner,
that's
wanting to be on
model,
some sort of service plan, or not wanting to sign up for a service plan. So
right. But that's something they're going to have to discuss with their customers. Whereas if I go to EA and say it's broken, they say what's new, and then eventually they'll get a technician out there to replace it.
We have a technician go out every 3 hours. Don't worry about it.
Well, the reason I bring that one up is I was watching Fastlane EV, and they were testing out the new Lexus Busy 4, and the first station they went to, only 2 stalls were working, and so they just went to another one, and there at least one of them was broken. And then the first one I went to, 2 of them were broken, and they have earned this reputation of theirs.
Well, it's not a surprise. Like that's the reason why Ford initially said it's time to move, because we know these issues exist, and we don't want our clients to experience this because they won't deal with it well. So that's why they moved. So, and speaking of moving, sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
I was just going to say, we've heard from other car companies where they say, well, that's not our problem. That's those charge providers' problem. We make the car. We don't make gas stations. So why should we be worried about fueling stations? That's someone else's problem. So I was really surprised to hear, who was it? Farley say that that they were thinking about that whole thing and that it mattered to them. I was
Yeah.
like, great, wow, that's the
Yeah.
way everybody should be thinking about their customers' experience, but
Yeah.
no one else seems to. Why is that so rare?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Let's move on to the next story, and it's about charging as well.
Yeah, so
Casey.
let's go from talking about the NACS to talking about NACS at home. So the Tesla Gen 3 wall charger, wall connector, sorry, it used to be like $500 and change dollars. Then it dropped down to $300 and some odd dollars, and then it adjusted. And now today it's gone up. Well, today, June 15th, it went back up another $50. It's still under $500, and still one of the best deals around for level 2 chargers at a decent amperage. Not as good as the old ones at 80 amps, but still. You can max out any Tesla they sell today. You can now purchase it for $475 at Tesla or Best Buy. I don't know that they have any other official partners in the States, but Tesla and Best Buy.
Yep, and price went up in Canada too by $75. So
You guys sell it at Best Buy too, or just Tesla.com?
Just Tesla. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So again, keep your eye on these things. It happens sporadically. It happens overnight, and the reason you get updated is because the website changed. That's all. We don't know what's coming. It's like we said with the cars. If you're happy with the price and it's going to work for you, then jump on that now. So
yeah. And speaking of the web, I got an email from Tesla, which is rare, saying that the 1 terabyte SSD, which everybody said was too expensive, and it's very expensive, is back in stock. They said get it now before it sells out again. Who knows? It probably will.
Exactly.
With their EVSE, now that you can get it either from Tesla or Best Buy, whenever there's a price change, well, if the price goes up at Tesla, quickly go get it at Best Buy before they raise their prices.
Yeah, they're a little slower.
yeah, they tend to be. Or the other way, right? If you see the price go down, well, check them both. Whenever you're going to buy one of those, check both spots. You might get a better deal at one place or the other.
Exactly.
Definitely. A buddy of mine, his Gen 3 failed, and one of the beauties of the Gen 3 over what I've got with the Gen 2, I mean, I like the speed because my car has the charger to handle it. But if mine were to fail, I would need an electrician to change it out with another one. But Tesla just mailed him a new head unit, and he'll just pull it off the base, pull the faceplate off of it, replace the unit, put the faceplate back on it, and send him the guts and as his RMA, and he's good.
Wow,
that's the way it's designed.
That's good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No electrician involved.
Hello to JT in the chat room, and also next story will be about going underground. So we've talked about this several times about the Las Vegas loop, which is expanding to 65 stations, I believe. Incredible amount of tunnels to be dug, but it went in front of the Las Vegas Planning Commission. And no real surprise, the Planning Commission approved the construction. So we've got a green light for the boring company to start producing some more tunnels, and most likely maybe some modifications to the tunneling machines that they have there now. So we know that after the initial loop was done for the convention center, they had pushed it out to the first hotel, which was Resorts. And then they were looping around a couple of other locations of hotels and then coming back into the convention loop. So that I don't believe is complete yet, right. But it was ongoing. The tunnels were being dug. So with this new planning commission approval, I'm curious to see if there's going to be new hardware. Is there going to be more hardware? Are they going to have a few different tunneling machines working on the same project, or how they're going to do this? Because this is a massive expansion from where they started. It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate this. We've got University of Las Vegas as a stop. We've got up to the airport. We've got the We've got the hockey arena where the new Stanley Cup champions are located. So we and of course we've got the Strip, Old Vegas and New Vegas. So there's a ton of tunnels to be dug.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first approval inside the city proper, not just in a place called Las Vegas, but actually in Las Vegas City.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of a bump when it came to the university stop because they actually had to sell some of the land that the university owned, and that's not a thing that the university typically does. But for the station, they had to do it, and they had approved it. So again, that's another hurdle that's been overcome so that the university can get its own station. So
which would be great for the students to get around.
Oh yeah. When you're a student, you probably don't have a car and you don't have a lot of money. So being able to hop on that and get pretty much anywhere around in the area, that's got to be super convenient. And I think about
the point means you don't have to get up early to catch a train. You just get up and then however long it takes you to travel from where you start to where you need to be at school.
Right. It happens on your schedule, not the train schedule, which might mean you had to be places
it's not an afternoon rush. You're just not having to get up early to meet a train or a bus schedule.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Because with the train or a bus, your options are an hour early or 3 hours late. I mean, there's never right on time, right?
Right. Exactly.
I think about all the how many other systems. Tunnels historically have been horribly late, horribly over budget. The people mover, the big dig, all these, and here where. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, traditionally it was Tesla. I know this is boring company, but people complain about Elon time and things being late, and yet here they're moving faster than the industry would have ever, and obviously the city's happy with it if they're adding on to it significantly. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see this start to roll out, add some stops. As soon as that airport connection happens, there's going to be a huge uptake on this because that is a major bottleneck of activity from the airport in Las Vegas, of course. And hello to eCar eBooks, who's joined us from Arizona this evening. So that's great. Great to see you. With that, Patrick's going to do our next story, and he wasn't even known it was going to happen.
I did take a guess when I saw the list.
Go right ahead.
Yes. Okay. So this comes to us from Tasmanian, and it is titled, Tesla Celebrates Installation of 500,000th Powerwall. And I'm happy to say 3 of those were mine.
One was mine.
Nice. Yes. So Tesla has, over the past 2 years, the company has installed an average of 12,000 units every month. Wow. So, I mean, they've been installing them longer than 2 years, but over the last 2 years, they've been in high gear. And so in honor of this, Tesla is offering a $500 rebate on a Powerwall unit if it's installed and registered before October 31st of this year. So you've got until Halloween. Get one, get it put in. And this, I don't know. The other thing you should check is, are there rebates either from your state's energy department, your environmental quality system. Here in Oregon, we have the Energy Trust of Oregon. These are all places that I would be checking. Check with your local utility. For example, mine has the Smart Battery Program where I get $25 a month for participating, even if they don't use it, which, I mean, that's just free money every month. Why wouldn't I do that? So, there's lots of incentives out there. Make sure you look for them. And who doesn't want a $500 rebate for having something that I was just talking about, how with solar, it works great. And depending on what incentives you got when you installed it, you either can or can't use the grid. And so, for example, mine is for solar storage only. And which means, like Casey said, I've got it setting, and if we lose power, it'll kick over. But having solar to refill it, it just makes, you don't have to have enough to last the entire, if you have 2 or 3 days of outage. If you have solar, you can refill it every day. And so you just have to have enough to get you through after sunset until, run the AC to cool off your house after that, and then go to bed and wake up with the sunshine and you've got power again. So it's a pretty cool system. I don't know if there's any more in here that you wanted to hit on. In April of 2020, Tesla announced the installation of their 100,000th Powerwall. So just over 2 years ago, which I guess is how you get to that math of in 2 years, we have a pretty good idea of how much they've been installing to go from 100,000. It would be interesting to see a graph of these installs, because you can see that it's going exponential. I don't know how long it took them to get to 100,000, but now 2 years later, they're 500,000.
Yeah. Hockey stick growth.
Yeah. Exactly. We should ask Hockey Day. He probably knows all about hockey sticks. Last hint here. The next version is coming soon. And
we've heard about Powerwall 3 and some of its possible changes, but they've been light on the details as to when it's coming. Because of course it's going to be an update on the website overnight, and 2 will be out and 3 will be in. So it's that will not be a surprise. That's how Tesla operates.
Right. Yeah. And there might be some parts of 3 that are worse. I mean, if they're going to an iron-based chemistry, then it could be slightly lower capacity. So there's so if you see something today that's good, there's the latest doesn't always mean the best. Anyway,
like the wall chargers, easier to fix, but they won't charge your old car as fast.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you like it, go for it. And no regrets.
I've got a spare Gen 2 in the storage, so if mine goes, I can replace it with another Gen 2.
Nice.
Speaking of celebrations, another celebration at Tesla happened at Giga, Texas this past week. And this, of course, was Tesla has hit its 10 millionth cell produced at Giga, Texas. So 10 million 4680s have now been produced at Giga, Texas alone. And that's a big milestone, although it's not big enough. Tesla is still somewhat constrained on 4680s. They're trying to push out as many of them as they can, because, of course, the big story coming, we believe, in September is going to be the Cybertruck, which we believe is going to require the 4680 to be made profitably. So this is something that they've got to ramp up beyond 10 million cells. And of course, I'm sure they're pushing as hard as they can. We've heard recently about Fremont opening up new factory space and new lines for the 4680. They're trying to push this out as in many places as they can. So not a surprise, but again, good to see the milestone reached. And there's the team out in the parking lot with a spacey looking backdrop as they celebrate the 10 millionth cell produced.
One big thing between this and all the previous announcements about the 4680 milestones is this one is a Cybertruck instead of a Model Y.
Okay. Yep. It's I didn't even see that. So that's the Cybertruck front of it facing us. I thought it was just a spacey looking photo.
Oh no, it's from when they had the laser light show sculpting with light photo shoot for the Cybertruck.
Okay.
And there it is.
Right.
Whereas all the other ones, they had a Model Y, and it's like, this is number 1 million.
Yes, that is a hint that
exactly.
It could just be that was a cool backdrop, or it could be a little bit of an Easter egg that yes, they're looking at these that's going into Cybertruck. Although I want to point out they spelled ion wrong. Oh no, that's 10M, not ion.
Okay. Next story. Casey Scott, back to superchargers.
Let's go back to superchargers. How are they talking about Mr. Supercharger? Talking about superchargers. So Tesla put themselves out a video, and it was all about how superchargers work and how they have the intelligent routing. And my only contention with all of that was they talked about how superchargers should work, and I don't know if this is just my car or if this is all legacy cars, or if the engineer didn't realize that at some point Tesla really jacked the programming, and instead of going for minimizing total trip time, it meant for minimizing your stops. And so he's describing how, oh, you only need 20% here, it tells you to go to the next stop. That's how it used to work. and now, like I said, in my experience, now it says, oh yeah, just 30 minutes here and then one stop here and you're done. Like, we could have been there an hour earlier if we did 6 stops instead. And while they were doing this,
there is a we just talked about the charging experience. Even if it's a little faster, making 6 stops versus making 1 or 2, 1 or 2 is a lot more. You can relax, you can have some food if you're doing a bunch of little quick stops. And so
I'm fine with that on a regional trip, but when I tell it I want to go across country, I don't want to do any 1-hour stops.
Right, you want to go as fast as you can. That would be interesting if that was an option in the trip planner.
Yeah.
Fewer stops, fastest method. That would be a cool feature to add.
Exactly. Well, one other thing that happened to go off in this video that I was ranting and complaining about, this one minor little bit that they described here, is they let it show a couple frames of the current version of their supercharger monitoring system. They used to have them at a couple of the service centers and at the first Tesla lounge, but then they kind of just disappeared.
Which was in Hawthorne.
Right.
Yeah, in Hawthorne?
Yeah, right there at SpaceX, which is the only place I've ever seen it. I didn't know they had it at some other spots.
I think 2 or 3 other places that showed up over time. And
they did have a sign right next to it that they said no photography.
Right. That might be why it went away.
I got my picture of that screen before they put up the sign.
Oh, lucky you.
Nice. And so this was coming directly from Tesla because they were showing a live screen of their interface, and this shows the real-time shot of the North American network at the time that they made the video. And we can see that they've got items like a 10 to 20 minute wait, scheduled outages, temporary closures, connectivity outages, more than 50% occupied, which is right where you get them extra idle fees, and where your car starts setting you down to 80% instead of to whatever you have it set to. And then green is, it's all good, less than 50% occupied. And they've got
and on this screen you've got purple, which is offline, and it shows 2 currently.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. So I'm sure that this is like when I worked at Amazon. There's a klaxon that goes off when the situation is not good or not normal.
Yeah, I wonder how many other charging networks have something like this where they're actually paying attention to all of them, or are they just waiting for phone calls?
If they have it, then they aren't paying attention to it.
Right. Yeah. I did like to see a couple up in Alaska now. That's nice that they're expanding there.
And they were green.
Yes.
So, they don't have them under constructions listed, but they do have a toggle where they can flip on the destination network. So that means that for the destination network, that's either going to be your Gen 3 wall connectors or a combo of the Gen 3 wall connectors and what the car reports. Like we talked about last week, where if the car reports a third-party charger is not up to snuff, they can remove it from the map.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that they even showed that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I don't think there's that many Gen 3s out there that are wired yet. So yeah, they're using they're using the intelligence in the car to figure that stuff out without getting it directly. That's smart.
Yeah.
There's no way for a Gen 2 to report that except if the car does it for you.
Right.
And the Gen 1.
I think that again, it's a progression here that Tesla, of course, is growing this supercharger system, and they've developed the tools that they feel they need in order to keep that 99.9% uptime, which they recently put a video out about it achieving that goal of 99.9% of the time uptime. So this is like you said about Amazon, I am sure that people's pay are connected to how this network runs and how well it runs. So
at least their incentive program is.
Alarms and alerts are probably going off at all different times based on the situations that are happening, so they can be preventative and make sure that this thing keeps running effectively.
You know what I just realized? From the V2s and up, maybe even the V1s on the superchargers, they know if the cables have been cut because there's a temperature probe in the tip of the NACS connector.
Oh yeah.
If that goes away,
so if vandalism
stations,
happens, or if someone somehow manages to roll over ahead and break it somehow, they have an upfront indication that particular stall is in trouble.
Yeah.
Very
especially
cool.
if you got a cable temperature sensor that's still there, and then the tip goes away, just offline.
Yeah.
If they go 1, 2, 3, 4, then you know it was copper thieves.
Exactly.
Right.
Next story, a little bit of a downer here in Louisiana. Tesla, of course, is fighting the dealer network across many states, and Louisiana is one of those states where Tesla had actually submitted a bid to the Louisiana Court, asking them to overturn the dealer law that's present in that state. Unfortunately, the Louisiana Federal Court got together, looked at the submission from Tesla and dismissed it, saying that they weren't going to rule any differently on what was in place in the current law, and therefore Tesla has to abide by not having service stations or service / sales centers in the state. So again, it's very important if you are an EV owner and you want these things to change in your state because you're not satisfied with what is going on. Best thing to do is to join an association in your state, because there's power in numbers, and then direct all of you combined to submit. Again, you want to submit nicely to your representatives, but you want to be firm and let them know that you want these things to change. And that's the only way things will change. The more you can get involved with it, the quicker you can get things to turn around. So if you're not happy with what's going on, act in that way, and you too can help change these things.
Yeah. And not a lawyer here, but Tesla may have something to stand on for an appeal of this not even being looked at. The court wrote that the direct sales ban applies equally to all manufacturers, and Tesla has alleged no facts regarding anti-Tesla animus on the part of the Louisiana legislature, the ruling said. Now, hopefully Tesla wasn't stupid enough to say, oh yeah, that they're singling us out, this is discrimination against us, Tesla. But no, if it's against people who choose not to involve themselves with a middleman, then they haven't even addressed that, depending on how Tesla filed it. I didn't go and look and see what Tesla put in for their argument, but it's a little bit of that whole bias and kind of set in your ways thinking, like when you talk to people about, oh, they're like, how long does it take to charge? Oh, 20 minutes all the time. No, at home I don't have to wait 20 minutes. I only wait 20 minutes when I take a long road trip a couple times a year.
Right. It takes 3 seconds to plug in. That's all it takes.
Right. And if they say, oh, well, Tesla can start up a dealership anytime they want, get Jimbo to put open a lot and he's good to go, Tesla doesn't want to do that part. And not just Tesla, Rivian, and Polestar, and they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
Right. Although sometimes, depending on how the laws are written, the court's hands are tied, right? So the court can only turn it if they can find...
Or how the laws have been reinterpreted, because none of this even mattered until Tesla came through. Right.
So what's better than going to the courts is to have new legislation written that clarifies it in light of all this new... Now we understand that these companies exist and how they want to do business, and you either make a carve out for them that says if they don't have dealerships, then they can sell direct. But if you do have dealerships, you don't want to have the manufacturer competing with the dealerships, so you disallow that, which was the intention of the laws.
That's why the laws were the way it was, exactly.
Right. And so now they're being reinterpreted because this whole idea of someone selling direct without having, well, I mean, all manufacturers have dealerships, right? So of course they thought they covered all the bases, and they didn't. So yeah, new legislation is the way to go. And the cool thing here,
that doesn't always succeed, because like Mark said, you gotta be involved, because you got places like here, South Carolina, and Michigan, where you're not part of the good old boys network. You can't. They own the legislator because they are the largest donors. You have to get it done correctly, or places like Texas where they're just too busy to be bothered to see you. They're 6 weeks every 2 years that they're actually in session for 12 years running.
Yeah, Mark brought up a really good point about join your local EV club, because that's where you can have a voice, whether it's a Tesla owners club or an electric vehicle association club. Our local legislator actually bought a Tesla and joined our EV club,
Nice.
OEVA. Yeah, and then he wanted to pass legislation for an incentive in the state. So he started talking to all of us about how that works. And I said, well, actually, just wrote a blog post about how I think it should work. And he was like, really? What is this? And so I told him about the blog there. And he read it, sent me a whole bunch of questions. Like, what did you mean by this? How would this work? Yeah. And then the method that I had, he said, okay, that's way too complicated, because it was based on the fuel economy average of the vehicle and on how much of a tax you paid on new cars. So it was a small luxury tax on new vehicle sales, and it didn't apply to EVs because it would make no sense to fund an EV incentive with the tax on an EV. So he got rid of all of that and just made it a 0.5% tax on all new vehicle sales, including EVs. But you end up getting the state incentive because of it. And then it also helped fund the incentive for lower income people buying used vehicles. And so it turned out really nice. I wish that it didn't run out of funding earlier this year.
Yeah. And then you also have to be prepared for them to tell you that, hey, we hear you, but you got to play politics the way the politics is played. Here, again, good old boys network, our representatives did hear us. And they came back with, we can't even bring it up right now because we're not the ones in power right now. And the guys who are in power have been paid off by your opponents, the car dealerships, who are really pissed off that they can't be the dealer for Tesla and Rivian and Polestar. And so if we waste our one shot at doing something this year and it's on this, we'll have wasted our shot to help out the poor or whatever else were issues that they felt they had a better chance of having success with. And some members of our group, they didn't take that very well. But
yeah, I wouldn't. I
didn't like it.
I have to pick which things are right that I want to do. No, I want to do all the right things.
Right. But if you get two shots and then you waste one of them on something that has zero chance of succeeding.
True. Yeah.
When there's still other stuff that you could get done.
Well, that also should rally those people to get ready for the next election too.
Yes,
because it's something that this. It doesn't end with an EV issue. It ends with a state of mind and how these representatives represent you. And sometimes those representatives have to change. So it may lead you in another direction. But again, you're being active in your community. You're being vocal about what you believe, your representatives, and how they should act on your behalf. And that's never a bad thing.
Yeah, and so you have two choices there. One, you got to figure out what do you want to do with your rep who understands and is willing to do the thing, but has to work through the system, as well as what do you want to do to make sure that the person who was paid by the car dealership gets out of their way. You got to minimize them, and then you got to figure out if you want to keep that person or find somebody else to bring that forth in the new environment.
Or if you want to run yourself.
Or run yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's share a little video that we caught here, shared on the social media. And this, of course, is at a airport in New Zealand.
That's a very distinctive shape.
Yeah, that looks familiar, doesn't it? Looks fairly familiar, even with the camo of the of that sheet on it. But this was airport in New Zealand, so it looks like CyberTruck has made it to New Zealand, maybe for some cold weather testing, because
even if
it's
they put
winter
the shovel rack on it, you would still be able to tell what it was. the Texas shovel wrap.
I wonder how many people from Austin were volunteering. I'll go to New Zealand.
Bring the parka because there's going to be snow.
That's the whole point.
That was pretty cool. That some baggage handler or somebody at the airport caught that information as the plane arrived. So there's drones everywhere. Never stops.
My name is Robert Paulson.
Never stops.
Yeah, so they did winter testing in Alaska when Northern Hemisphere winter happened. I wonder if that's why those new superchargers were installed up there.
Maybe one of them is close.
Yeah, we're gonna have to charge it up before we go out to the track there.
Exactly. Next, we ran a little poll on our Twitter feed, and that, of course, is at the Tesla Life, which you can follow at any time. Join us there, see news that happens through the week. But our poll was, since we saw the Cybertruck last week in camo wrap, we asked, with your Cybertruck, are you going to keep it stainless steel, or will you be wrapping it? And about 2/3 of respondents indicated that they're keeping the stainless steel, and 1/3 said they would wrap it immediately. So just kind of interesting. I don't know. I think that if I had a Cybertruck that was on order, I'm going to be concerned about how hot that thing gets in the summer sun. I wouldn't. You wouldn't want my anyone that I know to lean on the vehicle and get themselves a burn. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. If there's going to be some sort of coating on the stainless steel, but I know that the DeLoreans that were made of stainless steel, they were skillets, so they had that problem, and it still remains to be seen what the Cybertruck will be. But I even noticed on NBC News tonight that Houston, Dallas, all different parts of central and southern Texas are at heat level warnings, 118 degrees to 117 degrees. Wow. Different locations, multiple days, no end in sight. Can you imagine having a hot exterior truck in those type of temperatures? Like, that's going to be trouble, I think. I just hope that they've looked into something about maybe protecting the public against leaning up or putting their hands on these things. If there's some sort of heat dissipation that can be done with it, I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to be watching that over time, because this is something that could be a real issue for owners.
That's why I'm hoping they have 4 self-presenting doors instead of what Elon described as just door poppers.
Yeah. Let's hope it's not a handprint that it
I can't believe it's so hot already. It's first day of summer, and yesterday, I think it was Houston was 116. Houston,
and the top temperature was 118. It's at some other place, but there's someone in the chat says it's 103 in Austin currently. So that is hot, man.
Triple digits, Fred.
Yeah, exactly.
So I personally, what I will do whenever mine arrives is I will probably run it as stainless steel for a little bit, unless I'm way back in line and there's just stainless steel ones everywhere. Run it like that for a little while, and then at some point I'll wrap it myself. But I don't know about immediately wrap it.
So do you think wrapping will help with the heat problem?
It depends on how you wrap it. If you wrap it in
black, no. But maybe if you do it in mostly white, it would
black wrap
some of that heat.
Well, a gloss black wrap would the reason that they paint stuff in space black is for radiation, right? So like radiative cooling.
Black attracts the sunlight.
It does generally, yeah.
Like, there's no getting around that. But
gloss would help, but
if stainless steel is going to be that kind of problem that it's almost like a skillet, then at least if you have a wrap on it, you've got some insulation between the metal and the actual sunlight. So yes, it may still get hot, but it should be less hot.
Right.
But again, I don't know. It's going to be a learning curve for all of us as this happens. So it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens. But and of course, since the vehicle's being introduced most likely at the start of fall, maybe we're not going to see that until next summer, right? The height of it. But
mine will look something like this.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see and watch what happens there. But
Oh yeah, yeah, Casey, if you're gonna wrap yours, you definitely gotta get branding on there. You gotta go with it. Definitely.
Oh, I might need the outline to be like the cyber wedge.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So one of the things that during COVID, when that whole thing started, I got this little keychain attachment that you could use to open doors without touching them. And then on the end of it, it had a little thing so you could do them, like touch pads. Oh yeah, exactly what Casey. So everyone's going to need one of those to open their CyberTruck if it's just a door popper. Yeah, show that again, Casey.
This is a copper brass.
Yeah,
carabiner and it's got a little.
Tesla could sell those as accessories.
Make it all angular and stainless steel.
Yeah, the cyber grabber.
But if there's self-presenting doors, the only time you'll have any trouble is if the wind is blowing the other direction from where the door opens, where they'll want to stay open, and then you can kind of like kick it closed, but not like with your foot. That's like gently pushing it. So
doesn't matter. It's steel. You can kick it all you want. You're good.
Yeah, but you don't want boot prints on your door.
That'll just promote other people in the parking lot to kick your vehicle. That's
what I'm saying. You want to gently just kind of nudge it with your shoe rather than
exactly. The next story we're going to talk a little bit about is, of course, the Tesla app Trip Planner has been updated again. Again, that app that we've been talking about for months has just had modular improvements as time has gone on, and that just happened again recently, where the Trip Planner got a few additions to the software. Go ahead.
We're talking about the one inside of the Tesla app on your phone, not the one in the car that I was complaining about a moment ago.
Correct. So we've now got the ability that when you put a trip in, you can now select a leave time or an arrive time for when that trip is going to happen or when you need to arrive by. And then the trip planner will update and, of course, produce different stops and times based on the time that you put in.
I have one less reason to use Google or Bing or Waze.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, I just see this getting better and better. At some point, I believe that they'll probably even add the maybe the full dollar amount for the trip. That it'll say, okay, if you're going to charge here, here, and here for this much time, approximately, you're going to end up with a bill about this for the entire trip. Like there's so many things that they could add to this as time goes along. And of course, all those things are going to be really key, not necessarily to the Tesla owners, but the people that are driving non-Tesla vehicles and using the app, because it's going to give them a better system than what they are currently using with other automakers. It's going to give them the ability to see a number of different data points that are just not available with anybody else.
It also gives them a hedge against something that just happened or is happening recently. Rivian has made an offer to buy a better route planner, the whole shebang, the back end, the app, the website, and they say they don't plan to make any changes, but if something happens to Rivian gets purchased or they do the corporate thing and they don't have any plans to make changes for a year and then all of a sudden they do, you don't want to be caught out in the cold. So if Tesla app just already has the functionality and it's just better, then you're not going to miss it.
Yeah, I know Tesla said they're giving API access to these other companies. I wonder if they would sell their route planning software as well.
That would be a cool trade. Like GM's like, oh, we didn't trade any money for this. Well, if Rivian's deal was, hey, we'll give you ABRP if you give us API and Supercharger access. Rivian also said they are going to continue to roll out their adventure network too. So, it'll probably not happen with two handles.
Or they'll just go NACS and give adapters to people. This is a great move for Rivian because now they can focus on their adventure network because they couldn't really just put them in the national parks and have no way to get between them, right?
Or get to the first national park.
Exactly.
You got one EA station between the two. That's all you need. It's got a 50% uptime.
Right. Yeah.
Now they can say the supercharger in the middle. Use that, and then we'll get you out in the woods.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So they can now focus on campgrounds and parks and all these recreation locations, with Tesla being all the glue in between.
Yeah, and if the network is what works well, the Rivian network, that is, Tesla may incorporate some of that into their app. And if they work on national parks, that's great. Then Tesla doesn't have to work on it. Rivian works on national parks.
Yeah, I mean,
so right
with
now
the CyberTruck, it's a little bit bigger and a little bit more brash, but there will be people who will use it as an adventure vehicle. But that's not the way Tesla is advertising and selling it. They're just selling it as like a urban assault vehicle. So being able to share that with Rivian means that now, even like you said, Tesla doesn't have to focus on finding a way to get into a national park with just 2 stalls.
Yeah,
right. Would Rivian open up their charging network once they have NACS connectors to non-Rivian vehicles? I don't know.
I wouldn't say out of the gate. They
about,
wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it out of the gate, but they're going to start collecting data and looking at what's going on and what's being used and what's not being used. And at that point, there may be a deal to be struck.
Yeah, so they tweeted in response to numerous questions on that. They one of them had an answer from Rivian that said that we are not open initially, but we are working on a solution. But there have been people who have taken the CCS adapter and plugged in their Model 3 and Y to the Adventure Network, and it just worked. But that's not to say that they're going to allow that to continue until they're ready.
Right.
Yeah, there's always trouble at the beginning. Trust me, there's always trouble. But very good. And last story of the evening, there seems to be more conversation between Tesla and India, the country of India, that Elon had actually spoken to the Prime Minister of India a few times, and most recently as today or yesterday, because the Prime Minister of India was in New York City. Elon went to speak with him there, and actually after the meeting, Elon had indicated that there are going to be some investment soon in India. So what does that mean? Is that a factory? Is that a supercharger network? Is that both? Is that something else? It remains left up to interpretation, but obviously there has been something positive that came from the meetings, and Tesla's looking for another partner in Asia to build cars with, and they've tried this road once with India. No compromise could be met a couple of years ago. Maybe after a couple of years, both parties have now looked at it again and said, maybe we can strike a deal. But we'll have to see as time goes along. And of course, you can listen and find out what happens between shows if you connect to us on our 2 socials. The Twitter, you can get to us at The Tesla Life. And of course, you can also connect to us on our Facebook feed, The Tesla Life #1. And we thank Patrick for maintaining that feed there. And we, of course, thank Casey for giving us a live feed to you this evening and every week. So with that, any updates from you guys, or should we just roll into the credits?
So the podcast episodes will be caught back up. Obviously, if you're hearing this on the podcast, and it is, but they'll be caught back up starting not all the way, but starting tonight. I'll be catching them up. They've already been, the old ones have been converted. I just need to get the post ready and then upload them. The extra time I do to do that, we used to get on the Now You Know show, as Anderson pointed out. And now that we're not doing that tonight, I have more time to get the podcast back out. So
very good, very good. With that, Patrick, any shout outs?
As always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and check out my blog at carswithcords.net. I've still got the Tesla 20th anniversary story on there, but I've got one coming up about hot summers and power outages, because that's it's coming soon. And
the power outage is because the solar panels are sitting on a pallet in your driveway.
This is actually about what happened last summer. So, yeah, we lost power a couple times and I didn't even know it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because things just weren't. So I shouldn't say we lost power. I should say the grid went down. We didn't lose power.
Well, I'll lose one room and all the HV appliances.
It's always good
because my Powewall's in my dad's house, and so the solution I've got here is 120 only.
So yeah, my final shout out here.
Something's better than nothing, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so check out the blog and follow my path to a future free from fossil fuels.
Awesome. Casey, any shout outs? What about your
you
show
catch me on
happening
Sundays at 1:10 Eastern p.m. And what we're going to do is going to try to electrify all the things so that the future free from fossil fuels can happen.
Nice.
Very good. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this evening. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up, press that subscribe button, share it with somebody else, and help us grow. Thanks very much. And we will get together next Wednesday and discuss all that's happening in the Tesla life.
Stay positive, press negative.
Ooh.